What's up?
It is good to be back.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, brother.
Not much of a spring break to be had.
Yeah,
Over
man.
here.
It got like crazy cold again all of a sudden,
Yeah.
man. I'm terrible in March anyway, man. Because as soon as the first bud of anything opens up, I'm sick. It's awful, man.
Yep. I did my Claritin run. It was not good enough. I have to go get more.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. Where I try to, at March 1st every year, I try and get back on it to get it in my system and give it time. Now, my timing was, it's still, I think that's a good way to do it. I'm not going to start doing it in February, but yeah, I probably should. But it's slow. It's working. We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there, man.
Little by little.
Yeah, oh, totally, man.
So I have a little bit of shaking up on weekends when there's no wrestling shows. So what do you do? What do you do?
What does one do?
What are you going to do?
Yes.
So I went out to see Dumbo.
Yeah.
Just because I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. But not anything against the movie. I haven't seen hardly any of the Disney live action stuff. If you count Maleficent, then I guess I saw that.
Yeah.
But most of the ones that they've chosen to do, just like, it's not quite my jam. I'm still waiting on them to do a live action, but use animal version of Robin Hood.
Yeah, that'd be
That
cool.
they did
Man.
back in the day. I think that will be one that if Guy Ritchie hadn't ruined Robin Hood, they could have done it.
For real.
But, that's got to be coming down the line sooner or later.
Never saw Guy Ritchie's Robin Hood, but I bet Kevin Costner did. He was like,
Oh,
whew.
yeah.
Thanks, bud.
Thank Christ.
For real.
The heat is off.
Thanks for that let. Yeah, for real. Thanks for that let off there, buddy.
I haven't heard anybody say anything good about it, even him. So
Yeah, seriously, Guy Ritchie talking crap about it. Guy Ritchie's terrible, Guy Ritchie.
no, toy.
Yeah.
Imagine it would be kind of like just from the trailers that I saw. Imagine that Russell Crowe, Robin Hood, that nobody liked, and A Knight's Tale had a baby.
No, man.
And then this is it.
This is it.
But I went into this one with kind of high hopes just because of who was directing it. Anything that Tim Burton does, I'm kind of like, well, I'll at least give it a shot.
Yeah.
You may not dig it as much as everybody else does, but I'll find something to like about it. And just something about him getting the call to do Dumbo, I was like, that kind of suits him. You know, the drunken trip out scene with the pink elephants alone,
Sure, man.
and that works its way in this version in its own way, but it's not the cartoon by a long shot, and I think that's good.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
needs to be kind of its own thing. You don't need a one for one. You don't need Beauty and the Beast. Like, this was just done, number one, and Aladdin coming out like this. As cool as I think it's going to look, just the whole Cave of Wonders scene alone, I think will be fun. I'm just like, this was enough the way it was. So why do a live action version of it?
Yeah, I'm like that with most of the ones that do live action. I did think Maleficent was cool, like you're saying, because that one is different. You're taking a character and you're going over here with it.
Yeah.
And then as far as Dumbo's concerned, man, if you're going to take a character and go over here, again, it's the same title character, but having Burton be the guy that gave the title, I just completely agree with you. Like, oh, that could be kind of cool. That could be something worth seeing.
Just with a lot of the stuff in the cartoon that you just know probably isn't going to age very well will have to be changed. And the fact that, I mean, I didn't realize it, but the runtime on that's only like 60 minutes.
Wow, okay.
The original animated version.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So it's like we gotta fluff it out. There's gotta be more of a story here than just doing a live action version of what was already done. So you know, it's not gonna be exactly the same. But my I guess problem with it is they put in all these other characters that you just kind of really don't really care about. It's like that's not Dumbo. I'm here for Dumbo.
Yeah, you know the elephant's name
Yeah.
on the poster. That's what I'm here for.
Oh, anytime anyone else is on scene, like what's going on with Dumbo?
Yeah, what's Dumbo up to for real?
Because there's a storyline with the Colin Farrell's character, and his kids, and there's the Michael Keaton comes in, and it's kind of an awesome scene just to see him and Penguin on the screen again, going back and forth.
We're like the only two people on Earth that think Batman Returns is great. So
Oh.
I shouldn't say that because a lot of people will cite it for Michelle Pfeiffer, and they should. But it's the movie top to bottom. We both love that one. We talk about it all the time. That of the, I won't even say non-Nolan stuff because it would outrank two of the Christopher Nolan ones for me if I'm just doing my Batman stuff and putting them in order. Love Batman Returns.
It was one of those. It dawned on me when I saw the trailer happen, like, oh man, Keaton's in this movie, so him and DeVito will have a scene or two, and they end up hanging out almost the whole time.
Yeah, man.
So that was fun enough to watch. Just all the extra stuff that gets put in is that none of it do you care about.
That's never good, man.
So that's it just kind of leaves you like what am I supposed to care about this? Get back to Dumbo.
You just throw your popcorn at the screen. I'm here for Dumbo. Storm out of the theater. God.
And you're about dang near halfway through the movie. You're kind of watching it like Tim Burton really isn't doing any of his Tim Burton stuff in this one. All the weird looking stuff and funky people. Until about the time the Michael Keaton character shows up and they go on to the big time, big leagues circus, and then they get to his dreamland studio circus park that he has. That's when here's the Tim Burton stuff.
Yeah, okay.
I see it now, but even the stuff in that it's not too Tim Burton-y.
Okay.
That it kind of takes you away from it. So definitely, if you like the original animated version remotely, then go see it because of the stuff from the animated version. There's enough nods to it. There's the fire scene and the clown scene and even the pink elephant scene. It gets its way in there. We can't let it be any type of scene where Dumbo might be drunk or anything like that, but they get in there in their own way. The emotional stuff from the original, when this movie gets emotional, it's still kind of like, oh man, kind of scene. But I think the original leaves you with more of like, oh man, that elephant flew. This one, I'm like, but at the same time, this one you get emotional for this animal that wasn't even there, doesn't even really exist. But they have a way of making you care about that character. None of the others.
Yeah.
But at least the Dumbo character you care about, which that's kind of
name on the poster.
That's what you bought. The ticket says
man.
Dumbo, so that's what you're there for.
This might be very, very far off, but I would think that one of the elements to getting people on the side of the elephant, aside from putting his name on the poster, putting him in the commercial, but when you see him in the commercial, all the money they spent on the CG for the eyes of that character, holy smokes, it's like I can definitely see the connection you can make and the emotion. It's like, just look at those eyes, man, like, whoa, this is neat.
It's just, I guess maybe even, at least, when you go back and you watch the original, it's not like he flew that much. It leaves you kind of like, is that it? Is that all he's going to do? And with this one, it kind of does the same thing where you're like, you see the act, it's like, that's all they came up with? He does some laps around the ring. Well, all right. Okay. So, but that's where it kind of leaves you with the Michael Keaton character, and you're like, why does he want this thing so bad? Why does he? But so there's no really good explanation to that. But it's an excuse to get Dumbo out there and fly around.
That's right.
And if you think that doesn't have any connection to pro wrestling, which is what we usually go on and on about on this channel,
man.
Or UFC for that matter, you'll be wrong, because there is a Michael Buffer cameo, and you can imagine what character he plays, and it's the perfect uh, introduction. He's the not he wouldn't be called the ringmaster, but essentially he's the announcer of the circus. So it's at the perfect time. He comes out, and you think he's done, but no, he shows up again. But it was a nice tip of the cap to old Nitro days and HBO boxing and all that
Nitro
stuff.
days.
So that was fun.
Yeah, man.
But I would if you're the least bit curious, I would say see it because it's definitely worth going to see. But it's one of those kind of not the typical Tim Burton movie in the slightest, which I ain't calling it bad. I'm just saying it's not at all what I was expecting. But one of the things I've been trying to do is to go into movies as sight unseen as possible.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. How much fun that can be.
Definitely something I'm trying to do more often, because when it comes to the Marvel stuff, I'm going to go watch it anyway. I'm not seeking out any trailers. I used to not do that. I used to watch the reviews of trailers on this very YouTube that end up being 20 and 30 minutes long, and now it's like, why do you do this to yourself? Why do you even care? You're going to go watch it regardless of what these people say or think. But the one trailer I saw before this movie has got me kind of. That's the trailers I do watch are in the theater.
Yeah.
I figure I'm not good enough time wise to get in when the feature's starting. Plus, I want to be able to see where I'm going to be sitting.
I'm the same way. I need that light, man.
Sit in some little kid's lap or something.
Yeah, man. If the lights are out in the theater, I have a rough time finding a seat.
If it means I got to watch some trailers from some crap I'm not going to go see in the first place, then so be it.
Yeah.
But man, why the trailer I saw that stood out before this one that I was like, why would anybody go watch this? Is why does anybody care about Toy Story 4?
That's a good question.
It was fine the way it was, as long as they made us wait for 3. I feel like that was the conclusion of the story. And with this trailer that I saw, I was like, it's just, it's not only a rehash of Toy Story 1, it's a rehash in the dumbest possible way. The Andy's toys have moved on to a new girl who makes this new character toy that they're supposed to get back to her. What? Why? Why does anybody care about this? I'm not sold on it. Well, that's definitely one. It would take a lot more to get me to go see that.
Yeah, I can dig it, man.
Not interested in that in the slightest.
It's stupid. Like the thing about it that just bums me out the most, if you will, is just drop the 4. Like you said, I mean, you can same characters, same everything, man. You have like a yard sale and some kid winds up with them. That's cool, but just go back to calling it Toy Story. Start over again. I don't see what's wrong with that, man.
It left you at the end of the third one, leaves you wide. It picks up. I guess that's the problem with calling it 4 is it feels like it picks up where 3 leaves you with the Andy's box of toys gets left with this girl. They're still with her, but just scrap that storyline and call it something else. Woody's Big Adventure, whatever you want to call it. Just God forbid, do new characters, but it does not look remotely interesting at all.
Yeah, man, we just got such a good ending with the first one that it's cool for that to be the end of that. It's like, I say about Infinity War all the time, man, that I know all of us, self-included, are going to go see what happens in, I think, Endgame, right?
Yeah.
I was telling Jared during dinner, man, I constantly get them wrong. I say Civil War when I mean Infinity War, and I say Infinity War when I mean Endgame. So it's just like, anytime I'm talking Avengers movies on here, man, whatever I've said, that's probably not the movie I'm talking about, just so you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to go see Endgame, and it's all good. But if you go back through and you want to stop after Infinity War, that's an awesome place to end. Holy crap, I'm done, man. Yeah. Toy Story 4, Endgame. You can do that.
I guess another thing to point out is not a spoiler at all for Dumbo is you're watching this live action version of it. We're not going to have any of the animals talk. How are you going to get the song "Baby Mine" in there? I know I heard it in the trailer, which was got me excited about seeing it in the first place. One of the things, but it gets in there in the most practical way you could imagine. So it's like, okay, well that worked.
Okay, cool.
Well, that worked out.
There's a hurdle that we've made it over. All right, there's one.
How about you just have somebody else sing it? Okay.
All right then.
Right. Tim.
Oh, you did think it through. All right, you crafty so and so.
Well, fine, forget it.
I ain't even mad anymore, Tim Burton.
So, but yeah, it's something about the live action Disney stuff. I'll back in my trailer watching days, I would see it and like, oh yeah, that's gonna be neat. Cinderella, Jungle Book, and by the time they come out, I'm like, man, I just want to watch the originals. You know, if I'm gonna watch anything.
I'm very much the same way. Like, animated versus real version, I get it, especially with Disney stuff. I mean, they're yours. You can redo them, and it's a nice way to do them differently. But I'm totally okay. I'm with you. I'm totally cool with the animated one being the one. That's cool. Transformers taught me that lesson.
Oh yeah.
Oh
man.
yes.
Don't.
But Bumblebee was good. Just to be fair, I don't want to just throw all of the Transformers. Bumblebee's actually the only one I've seen, so it's the track record's pretty great. It was a cool movie. I like that one.
That's the one to see.
It was cool. It was cool. Yeah.
And part of me thought, the thought did go through my head. Look, maybe you should watch the original before you go check this one out. But I was like, it's like just to see how much of it I forgot. But I can tell you what I saw on the screen was not the cartoon in the slightest. So
Cool.
so apparently I remembered more of it than I thought I did.
Yeah, man.
Just to know that, like, okay, this is not even close to what it was, but not calling it bad.
No, that's
Just saying it's good.
Sometimes that's a really good thing. I was like that with my most recent watch the movie, read the book, then watch the movie again pair was Under the Skin, and they are, I don't want to say night and day different, because there is, the one element of, loner girl drives the Scottish countryside and picks up loners, stranger dudes for X. I don't want to tell you what X is, just in case you haven't seen it, because I don't want to ruin what the story's about. And I watched the movie first, because typically I like it, if I'm going to read a movie. If I'm going to read a book, I like to have seen the movie first, because I'll mention that in a second, talking about watching Dumbo. It reminded me of Harry Potter 6. Because Harry Potter 6, unfortunately, I was in the middle of rereading when the movie came out, and I hated everything about that movie. And it's the only one of those I ever did that with. And so it was like, okay, finish the book, then wait the time, then rent it and watch it, and you'll be okay. And it totally worked. It was totally fine. But, man, I did so much comparing while it was on. It was like, don't do this to yourself again. This was a mistake. Sorry. Under the Skin is a very interesting book. The movie is absolutely fantastic, one-off. I've never seen anything else close to it, and not just in movies, but in any type of media, and nothing like Under the Skin. The movie includes Under the Skin, the book, but it's like you're saying, how different they are is fantastic, because there was one element of the book that I absolutely hated, and then there was one element of the book that I loved, and the element of the book that I hated, if you drug that into the movie, it would have it's ruined plenty of other things. So I'm just glad that they're as different as they are. It's awesome. That's a compliment.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So that's this is kind of what it left me with is like, man, if you even remotely think you'll want to go see it and go check it out, and I think you'll dig it just fine.
Because it's about a dang old flying elephant named Dumbo. Take good stuff. I love elephants anyway, man. So it's like, I got to go hang out with the elephant. The guy's cool.
Yeah, definitely worth going to see.
It's worth the drive, brother.
That's what I'm talking about.
I've been up to nothing, man. I ain't done nothing. I've been watching the NCAA tournament because it's March, and it's March, and what I do is sneeze and complain about the weather and watch college basketball. Sometimes more than others. I don't think ever as much as I have this year. I just immediately started enjoying the tournament, and I've loved every game I've sat and watched has been amazing.
It's almost impossible to watch everything.
Oh yeah, it's more fun to just
the stuff you see. It's been some good stuff.
Just let them roll up and then get in there when you want to. The one that I sat and watched start to finish. I shouldn't say the one because there's been a couple. Usually I'll catch the second half and that's all good. But Auburn, North Carolina, I watched from the tip. That was, my brother's a huge Auburn fan, so he came over to watch, and so we turned it over. That's one, and then, gosh almighty, it wasn't Duke, Michigan State. That was today, and I think we called about the last 6 minutes of that, which was perfect. And then I caught about the same amount of the Auburn Kentucky game today, which that was fantastic. But it's just been unreal. It's been too much fun, and it's the parity in college basketball at about really definitely starting with Sweet 16 is just amazing, man. And I'm looking forward to the Final Four. I don't really have any picks. I'd love for Auburn to just keep rolling. This is too much fun having them in. Yeah, it's too much fun having them in, man. Mm-hmm. So I think they've got, oh shucks, I think it's them in Michigan State, and then Virginia and no, that's not right. I'm sorry. Auburn and Virginia are playing each other. The way I remember it is the uniforms are the same colors. Yeah. It's Auburn and Virginia and Texas Tech and Michigan State. Man, you just can't miss. Yeah. You just can't miss. Man, I was telling Jared, man, I would have loved for Duke Michigan State to have been a Final Four game. Because Tech fan that I am, I'm not supposed to like Duke, but I actually really do. I love Mike Krzyzewski, and I really enjoy Duke, man. Michigan State's in the same boat, so I would have loved to have been guaranteed somebody I'm real into to be the final. But honestly, I kind of have that because Texas Tech this year reminds me of Michigan last year, where once they start rolling off the CV and they tell you what they've been up to and what they've accomplished, it's like, why haven't I heard more about these guys? They've been like Elite Eight the last 2 years, the last 3 years, I think now. So can't miss. It's cool, man. It's totally cool. Now I will say that I am obviously and clearly pulling for Auburn over Virginia. I don't mean to be disloyal to the ACC, but Auburn's just too good of a story not to pull for them. They are, and it's not just a good story because sometimes teams get labeled Cinderella, and sometimes teams get labeled the team of destiny. And normally you have to have similarities to get those. Well, Auburn plays in the SEC. That's Power 5. Yeah, it is, but they are hardly the favored fair-haired child in the Southeastern Conference, particularly in basketball. That is not the first school you think of. So it's kind of neat that they've got it. You know, there's a little bit of a Cinderella thing going on there, but not really. And what I mean is that they, you know, if anybody was Cinderella before today, it was Duke, because Duke had those 2 games that they probably shouldn't have lost. If odds go the way you would expect them to go, they'd have lost to Central Florida. Yeah. And then they would have lost to, I don't remember who, Virginia Tech. Both those games came down to the last shot that rimmed out. So it's like, there's your team of destiny. Yeah. And I only say that because it's not like Auburn has lucked up, had like oh man, boy, they got let off the hook there. They just punched people in the nose. They're really just outplaying people. So it's like, God, this is fun, man. Yeah. But we're getting there. Got 4 left, man.
Winding down.
It's awesome, man. You got banners in Lubbock and East Lansing and Auburn, and for Pete's sake, I think Charlottesville's where UVA is. Now that I've said that, I started to say that and it's like, oh shoot, kind of hung myself up. But anyway, it's boring, but except with the exception of, you know, modifying old winning 11 teams, because that's what I do. Jared knows, man. I've got my old video games and I love to go in them and modify. And with it being WrestleMania season, I should probably do Fire Pro, but I'm just not. I'm not in there on Fire Pro, man. The last couple of guys I worked on were just fantastic, and I'm like, I don't know if I can get back in there or not, man.
There's got to be a way to get Michael Che and Colin Jost on Fire Pro.
What a pile of crap that whole thing is. What in the world is that about?
That was the one thing that we forgot to mention last week, just because I was hoping that it wasn't true. I was hoping that wasn't going to happen. But they're going to win that. They're going to win that crap.
It wouldn't surprise me.
They're going to win that shit.
It seems to me that the only thing I can figure going on there, man, is I guess Vince is trying to get his goodwill up with NBC so they don't get that deal, because that's the rumor, is that AEW and NBC are in talks. So, I mean, shoring up, you know, everything else like you were talking about with the towns in Tampa and stuff like that, it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know. I think that's weird. That was like the first thing I heard. I'm not saying it's a mistake, because boy, it's something that a lot of other people know a lot more about than I do. But just the idea of, let's go the traditional television route. That just seemed like a misstep to me. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's great, but I don't know. I don't think you can butter up NBC quite that much. Consider maybe he's hoping if the Fox deal falls through, he can land softly over here. Maybe.
Somewhere else to go.
Yeah, I guess so, man. But that whole thing is so stupid. Just there are things that Vince does for crossover that I totally understand, And then there are things just like, man, I wish you would just not do this. I know why you're doing it, but God, I hate this. Some dude was whining the other day about how Brock Lesnar breaking the Undertaker's streak is when wrestling died. And you just try to explain to people, it's like they knew exactly what they were doing. And considering the two most famous people in WWE now are the ex-UFC champs, it worked. Mm-hmm. They knew what they were doing, man. It's just like, it was hardly pointless, but whatever. Whatever. But yeah, man.
Guys, I don't think NBC cares about Michael Che and Colin Jost.
I don't either.
Why are those the guys you would pick?
I don't get it, man.
Man, and I'm not, a lot of people's reviews have been like, well, I don't even watch Saturday Night Live anymore. I do. So I get liking the show, but why would you have it anywhere close to Mania?
I'm not sure what that's about either, man.
I despised what's his face, Green Arrow, being on the show back when he was hanging out with Cody.
Yeah, the biggest problem that I have with that, as you know, is if you insist on putting the television superhero on a wrestling bill and you have free TV time on WGN, why would you not put your TV star on the free crap, and then I don't have to listen to people whine and fuss about, oh, the Bucks got cut short because Marty took too long. It's like, we have no problem with Joey Ryan and his freaking, phallic army. We ain't got no problem with that, and you don't have to have a problem with that. But that's my other thing is, like, if you cut Stephen Amell off that show, you got 15 right there. Yeah. So that's just what I didn't understand about that. But I'm totally with you. I just don't think, oh man, Gronk retired. Is he going to be at WrestleMania? I hate stuff like that. Like, this is stupid.
And it's that was the other news of the week. I heard the whole Gronk retirement thing, and my first thought was like, man, he's going to be Jason Witten. He's going to retire, just take the year off, and be back.
It would make sense.
Smart to do.
With Gronk, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody has offered him some type of reality television show at which he should jump. Anybody that gets that offer should take it, because the money that's in television is insane. Even with, well, he's a professional athlete, but man, how much less do you have to do taxably? I mean, just seriously, man. So if that's what's going on, good for him. That's cool. But I feel the same way. And Witten, I'm glad Witten's coming back. I'm glad that Jerry's going to pay him what he probably should have been paying him for a while now, just because that guy is so fundamental. But now, Tony, I don't know if Romo's coming back or not. The idea, the word about Tony Romo is that apparently other networks want to buy him. And we'll see. I mean, I love Tony. I think he's a neat guy, but all the talk that people do about, he's a genius. Have you heard him? He calls the plays. And it's like, y'all must not watch anything but the NFL, because a lot of people do that. Dick Vitale, dude, go back and watch the Duke-Florida State game when they ran that crazy play and Barrett hit that 3 to win. Dick Vitale is telling you what they should do, and then they break out of the huddle, and then they start to move it, and he's like, it's coming, this is it. He literally said what it should be, and then recognized it from the motion, and that was before they even inbounded the ball.
He's hardly as groundbreaking as people give him credit.
It's not as big a deal as people think. And also, watch a baseball game, for Pete's sake. Anybody doing color commentary in a baseball game can point blank tell you, well, you got to shift on now, so what they're going to do is throw it's 2-3, so
you want
3-2, excuse me.
You want somebody fresh out of school. He ought to be more familiar than some guys. A Troy Aikman that's 20 years removed from playing. He should have better insight than somebody like that.
Offenses have changed a lot, but that's the thing that makes me nuts, man. It's like, okay, great. Just tell me what the quarterback's up to, man. And surely to God he can read defenses, but I love Tony, but I just think he gets way too much credit. It's nice. I mean, at least he's getting credit for something positive. But it's like, this is not, like you said, man, this is not as out there as you think it is, apparently. But yeah, just listen to absolutely any color commentary on a baseball game, because they will point blank tell you what's coming 2 pitches ahead of time. Because I give you a perfect example, man. And this is, speaking of fresh out of school, man, Francoeur on opening day with the Bravos, man, and Philly loads up the bases. And he's all talking about how, man, you got to be concerned about him missing with that off-speed stuff going. Shoot, now it's full count. You got to go fastball. And the second he let that sucker go, he puts it in the seats for a slam. And it's like, and every bit of that he said before the pitch was thrown. Like, that's that stuff, man. And that's Francoeur. He just got the job. Like, good for you, French.
So, man, wasn't nobody giving him credit for crap when he was playing. But
Francoeur kind of messed himself up a little bit when he left Atlanta, but then he came back and flashed that $1 zillion smile. And a lot of the look, baseball's always had a huge fan base of women. Most women just love baseball, but cute dudes running around in tight pants doesn't hurt either. And boy, Frenchie flashed that smile, and I don't know a single woman that likes the Braves that didn't love Jeff Francoeur, so they forgave him real quick, man. So it's okay, welcome back, Jeff.
Yeah. So you had the whole Gronk's somewhat retired.
Yeah, whatever.
Maybe he'll be on TV. Maybe he'll be in the WWE.
I hope to God no one gives that man a TV job. He is. They call him Gronk because that's as much of his own last name as he can write. I mean, it's just he's not the brightest bulb.
Well, I mean, I think he'll probably be somebody ends up more like, I don't know, Expendables 34.
That makes
Fast
sense.
and the Furious 27 or whatever it is. I guess that's more of the stuff that I think he'll end up doing.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Not so much TV.
Yeah.
And he's compelling enough to, like you're saying, the reality show stuff. I think he could pass, especially with his 47 brothers or whatever it is. So that could probably get over.
Yeah, they can open a hamburger chain.
I wouldn't expect him to be. He's not going to take anybody's commentary job.
My thing beyond that, actually, the visual that I have of that to just explain is, I mean, whenever you've got JB, Terry, Howie, La-Di-Da, Woohoo, Ditka, Woo, all those guys, they have like 75 ex-players. And I'm sure he'll get a guest spot doing that at least once, and then surely they'll just kick him to the curb because he's
terrible idea.
Yeah, Gronk could be the new Terry Bradshaw. If you say so, I don't think you're right about that.
Yeah.
Terry's grandfatherly enough to where it's funny. Gronk is just a drunk frat boy. Gronk is, Rob Gronkowski's been an actor. He was on Entourage, dude. I know, Rob Gronkowski is Entourage. He is a living, walking, talking, breathing, shitting episode of Entourage. And Entourage, you could hear the clock ticking on that one way before time was up. So that doesn't really fly that much anymore.
Yeah.
But anywho, I just mainly my thing with Gronk retiring is it seemed to me any like big decisions made in the off season when you've got basically you're barreling towards the NBA playoffs, it's literally the NFL trying to take a page out of that playbook because they understand. And I know you can't get there. They think they can, but you can't because the basketball players playing so much more, so many more games, but also just the exposure. Just going to the arena, I mean, you're this far from the guys, man. You see everybody's face, everybody's got a personality. So all of that off-season junk they did 2 years ago where Tom Brady and the Patriots are going to defend they're going to defend their championship. Wait, what? LeBron and Kyrie are breaking up? And that was the news for 6 weeks, man. And nothing the NFL did could get the front page, and it ticked them off as well it should because it's the NBA and their underhanded way of being like new sheriff in town, kids. That's exactly what it was. And now the drama of who's going where in the NBA, that soap opera is a bigger deal than anything that the NFL or anybody else sports-wise puts out. It's amazing. That is the crossover sports event. It's like, where's AD gonna go? But what about Kawhi? What about KD and Kyrie? Are they going to the Knicks? Are they not going to the Knicks? Why aren't they going to the Knicks? And people are already talking about it. Now, man, it's nuts. So now we've had a lot of like big-time blockbuster trades in the NFL after decades of nobody, blockbuster or otherwise, getting traded in the NFL. They know exactly what they're doing, and it's smart because a ton of people want to tell you that the NFL's not worried about the NBA. No, they're not worried about them. They're getting destroyed by them, so rip them off. Why not? Why not? That's exactly what Kyrie and LeBron was. It was a soap opera built for a year in advance so that as soon as the NFL season kicks off, whoop, Kyrie's leaving Cleveland. Like, wow. So have fun with that. It's all good, man.
You had the Gronk retirement, then you had the Conor McGregor announcing his retirement.
Yeah, about 6 months after Habib announced it to the world for him.
That was honestly what I thought. This hadn't already happened. And then, of course, just like Gronk, the second he retires, the rumors start coming. Do you think he'll be on Vince's call sheet? Then you realize, he's being investigated. So, if he surely, Christ, they wouldn't do it this year because they have a whole week to promote this, which would do you no good. And if they were to bring in a guy like that, I got a feeling that, I don't know, a Cedric Alexander and Enzo Amore would have a bit of a grievance.
That's what I was thinking. Is if they pick up a phone and call Conor McGregor to come to WWE. There's a couple.
I say Cedric Alexander, I meant
Rich
Swann.
Swann, yeah. But Richie's all good. Richie landed on his feet, I think. I do feel bad for him, but he totally got exonerated, and it's like, yucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first thing I thought too. Is like, yeah, they pick up the phone and call Conor McGregor. That I know one real one's gonna be pretty upset about that. But Conor McGregor to UFC, aside from that, there's another huge problem with it. People don't want to hear it and they don't want to believe it, but it's true. You ever heard the nickname 5 Feet of Fury? They make an endless deal about her size. Endless. And we talked about it earlier today, man. Even on the women's roster, top to bottom. What's her face? The American Ninja Warrior is overwhelmingly smaller, noticeably smaller than Alexa Bliss, as is, for Pete's sake,
Zelina Vega.
Thank you, Zelina Vega, man. So if we're making this huge deal about size and proportion and la-di-da, you do not want this guy in the same building as the people that work in WWE. You just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you think it's this one thing until you actually see it. The point, we made that point about McGregor and Lesnar, because it's just cute. I mean, it's just people making a joke and having fun. But you get Conor's more up-jumped fan base, and they will really talk like they want to see that. And I'm like, yeah, right up till you see the press conference, because you just don't, you're not putting it together, man.
Yeah.
He really knows how to fight. But it's not a real fight, though. It's a show. And, again, vanilla midgets, and we like to talk all this junk about how size is so important, and la-di-da. To Vince, it is. 5'5", $165. It's just not going to work, man. It will not work. Give him a microphone, let him talk a bunch of crap, but that's about all you're going to get out of that. And that was before. The main point is the one you totally made. It's like, you're going to have a couple of people real mad.
Oh, yeah.
Real mad.
Yeah, man. It's just, and just the idea that people are throwing out, that, they're going to have him come out and he's going to be in Becky's corner and give her another noose around her neck.
Oh, I completely agree. It's like, why in the world does Becky Lynch need anybody in her damn corner?
No.
It's just not like that. That's a stupid thing.
So, man, I just don't. I think they're smart enough to at least not do that.
I hope you're right, man.
So, I'm not worried about that happening. At the same time, it's just like Gronk. Maybe Conor will announce the retirement, take a year off, and go right back to whatever he was doing.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, well, I think Gronkowski can probably. We'll see. I mean, year off from the NFL, man. They're pretty rough about the money in the NFL. But that's the thing about McGregor, is that when he comes back from his retirement, it'll be on them Manny Pacquiao terms. You've been making about a quarter of what you got, and I mean, freaking Dana White's tight anyway. Those guys, they don't make nearly what they should make. Why do you think it was so easy for Vince to get Ronda to go away?
Oh, yeah.
And they needed her to go away anyway, because boy, it didn't go so
Exposed.
well. It didn't go so well, just because it's mean to say exposed, except it's also 100% accurate, because people don't like to hear it. And this was at the time, but she was force fed. It's what made UFC to begin with, man. The Gracie family started that thing, and the one and only rule in the beginning of it, as far as like disciplines and whatnot, was no other jiu-jitsu. No one that had ever studied jiu-jitsu at all can be in. Now, Gracie, I don't know if the studio's the right word or not. Anyway, dojo, the Gracie dojo is amazing. I mean, they, probably wouldn't have mattered, but they made sure it didn't matter, because it's like, nope, anything else you can bring, but if you know jiu-jitsu, you can't be in. Like, well, I wonder why they won the first two. There was an exhibition for what they did. Anyhow, sorry about all the throat clearing. But yeah, the McGregor thing, I just don't think anybody cares. Go make your booze and, have fun.
Just go shut up somewhere.
Oh, God.
And that was the other. This whole time building up the WrestleMania card, the build. You thought that Becky Lynch was the third wheel. Turns out all along it's been Asuka the whole time. And just with what they decided to do with that, I just don't get it. But who knows? Maybe, hopefully they'll get. Everybody's been speculating the moment with the 4 horsewomen and the end of the the ring at the end of the show. You still could probably get that, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
I kind of hope not. I mean, I'm with you. I don't know how you can have them. If you have, I was telling Jared, first of all, if you take the belt off Asuka, which is great, because what the hell were they doing with it anyway? And that really kind of applies to the SmackDown Women's title since they took it off Alexa Bliss. They have crapped on that thing openly and often, and it's been much better. I think there's been way better champs, but it's just they don't care. It's not a priority. They're not going to do anything with it, so what's the point? If you moved it along to Charlotte for any other reason than to merge the belts, it's stupid.
Yeah.
You made a stupid mistake. And also, like I was saying earlier, like, well, Becky can only win one of them, and it's whichever champ she beats, that's the one she gets. Okay, so she's going to wind up as the Raw Women's Champ, and you are, because I've said forever, I love Charlotte being in the main event. I think it's appropriate, and I like it. But the logic that we've always talked about is it's so Becky can have somebody to beat. If you are going to book Becky Lynch to go over Ronda Rousey, then every single person that has complained since day one that Charlotte Flair was in this match is 100% right. Because if you put her in for any other reason than to either give Becky somebody to beat or to now merge those championships, you screwed it up. That's stupid. And also, as far as merging the chips go, we talked about that a long time ago, and I liked our plan way better. I'm going to give you guys a quick recap, and for anybody new, this is the story. I'll do it fast, I promise. Our plan. The man last year hatched just made a comment that I just thought was so good, and then I just kind of ran wild with it. And it was the notion of the Clash of the Champions pay-per-view at the end of the year being a head-to-head between Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. And that was the whole point then, was to merge the women's championships, because much like the tag titles, thank God they've decided they should be on one show. The women's championship should be like that. I think the men's championship should be like that. I think having two belts for the dudes is stupid, but that's something we've talked about before. So you have Charlotte versus Alexa, and it pains me to say this out loud, but it's just what I think is the best booking. Have Alexa Bliss win it. That was always the point. You have Alexa merge the titles, and then you get to talk the crap about having beaten all four horsewomen and merge the championships, and now I'm the undisputed goddess, and everything is fantastic. And who's better than me? Did the Scott Steiner? Who the better than me? That is messed up though, and it is amazing, because if I was him and I had done that to Hase and not killed him, I'd be celebrating too. Yeah. But at what point you then start booking Goddess versus Empress? And that is a good way to bring in Asuka, and whenever you have that match, Asuka murders her. Well, that's not right. You don't want to just murder Alexa. He did it with Ronda. It worked just fine. And that being the point that you have Asuka, she still hasn't lost. Now she's the unified champ. Defend, it's all good. And then that's the collision course you put her on, is undefeated, unbeatable, unbreakable Asuka versus the baddest woman on the planet. That's how you get the belt onto Ronda. And then you can do everything that you're doing now. You can do it just the exact same way, with the difference being, once again, if Charlotte's in there to give Becky somebody to beat, great. You got to make it a three-way. It's all good. But again, if you're going to book Becky Lynch straight up to beat Ronda Rousey, yes, every single thing we just said, you could have done the same way, and it'd be a hell of a lot better, and people would be into it, and they wouldn't have had their little bitch fit over, Charlotte always gets involved in everything. But again, to be fair to them, again, if Becky's getting the 1, 2, 3 over Ronda, they're right. They're 100% right. There's just no need for that. Yeah. We just can't wait to give Charlotte that big money. Okay.
Fine.
That's cool, man. Good for you.
Aaron Grant.
Oh, God, yeah. It's just...
I'll just have to, just another kind of thing that still got a week to go.
Yeah.
Could be something completely different by the time we get there.
Yeah, man. Like the... We were discussing earlier that just Cena angle, I just don't care. I don't care about John Cena anyway, man.
Why is this the one time in the history of wrestling where somebody has said, his last match should be the guy he had his first match with? Why does anybody care about that?
I don't get it. I mean, I know that Baron Corbin versus Kurt Angle sucks, but to be fair to Baron Corbin, these days Kurt Angle versus anybody pretty much sucks.
Unfortunately,
and it's just like, man, I don't know. I just don't see why any of us are supposed to care. And I was telling Jared that I thought the SmackDown thing they did with Joe was smart. You can't do it at WrestleMania because then you have to acknowledge that TNA is a thing that exists. But that's a much better idea. I don't know, man. They've misfired with Joe so many times now. I mean, you get the start, you get the stop, and it's just like
Nothing really picks up.
we were never going to get anywhere. It just doesn't feel like they're ever going to do anything. Samoa Joe's the new Bray Wyatt, where it's just like you have this thing, and the only reason that you take so many opportunities to try and get him over is he's already over. People love that guy, but man, you cannot just have this submission machine murderer, eater of worlds that loses all the time. It sucks. It doesn't work, man.
Yeah. So, and building up for a wrestling show next week. Didn't have one to watch this week, so instead we watched from Elbow Productions, the Jim Crockett Promotions, the Good Old Days show. Shout out to High Spots.
Yeah, man.
Pretty dang good show. I dug it. I didn't get growing up down here. I kind of knew a lot of what was gonna get said, but still fun to check in and get some perspectives from things that didn't realize.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
The years and years and years of hearing the name George Scott, I realized I'd never seen the guy.
Yeah.
And hearing some stories from him and just getting some insight from some of the guys that everybody talks about how they'd still be in best day if they hadn't gone to Chicago or bought all them planes. I think
stupid Ron Garvin hadn't messed up Chicago.
If George Scott had never left, I think that's where you really need to start with it. They would still be in business today. Not so much the overspending and buying Bill Watts. Back when I worked for Watts, essentially buying nothing. Big old box of air. So I think that's the first chink in the armor that not enough people kind of give credit to. It was years before it kind of really showed itself. I think that's kind of where it really started. The problems were there.
Well, that's always the thing that I think of with any story like that, is that if you want to find out where things went off the rails, man, whenever you start with damn Dusty and his private planes, you're at the end.
Yeah.
The ending don't start at the end. The ending comes way before that, especially for something that big and that strong. For example, do you guys really think that WWE has gone off the rails because Vince is stupid and keeps plugging guys in? No. It's because he was getting his ass handed to him, and he actually handed the reins over to the boys, and it pissed him off that he had to rely on the old school network of guys that know how to work and talk people into the buildings. It's like, no, damn it, we're a television production team. That's what we're doing. So we're going to write everything, and it's just, that's why it sucks now. That's why it's crap now. But it started then. Same thing, man. The deal I thought with the movie was, it told him once you get to 87, 88, that kind of stuff, man, there's nothing we don't know anyway because we're already into that. You get in the little cat fight at the end where everyone wants to snipe and say it's this guy's fault, it's that guy's fault. Well, Jim is stupid. Jim ran the promotion, not Dave. I didn't do it. Daddy didn't give me the promotion, so that's why it's not here anymore.
I was just kind of there.
Yeah, Dusty and my dad being so stupid as to not give it to me. What can I tell you? I'm Dave Crockett.
A little bit of money.
And then Jim pops up at the end and he's all like, it's on me, man. My name's on the masthead. It's all good. But it was, all that stuff is fine. But the part of the movie that I loved is the beginning of it, the stuff I hadn't seen before, the stuff that maybe you've heard in passing, but you get, like you said, man, faces to go with the names. It was awesome, man, like the old arena footage of Wahoo, and that stuff was super cool. I love that part of the story, because again, we're not as overwhelmingly versed in that. Yeah, it's great, man.
They're called Elbow Productions. They pretty much anything on, you go on High Spots, it's in the documentary section. Pretty much anything that has their name on it, give it a shot.
Yeah, man.
They did a shoot with the New Age Outlaws a few years ago.
One of the best.
And I want to say there's something else I'm forgetting. They might have had something to do with a history of the NWA title.
Oh,
video.
yeah.
I don't hold me to that. Anyway, if you see their name on it, it's going to be some quality stuff, and go check it out.
Heck yeah,
so
man.
I think
That's
you'll have
awesome.
a good time watching that one. I dug it. There's 2 more discs on this thing that I'm interested just to see what's on it. So, got the movie in now. I think it's going to be like matches and probably more interview footage and junk like that.
Yeah, it'd be like Memphis Heat, where you can watch like the extended interviews, something
Yeah.
like that. That's
Yeah.
cool, man. That's another important part of that movie. A really fantastic part of that movie is, like you're saying, some of the people they sat down and talked to, man, it is dope. It is
Yeah.
like a very, very cool laundry list of like, God dang, glad I talked to that guy. Oh man,
Mhm.
they got dust on there, man.
Yeah.
It's footage. I mean, but it's
Yeah.
like it's him talking about getting rich, man. But it's David Crockett. It's just that they get to the end, and David Crockett blames Dusty because that's just what they do. But I'm
Yeah.
just with you on that. I think that I don't know. I think the idea of I don't know. I keep talking. Everyone talks about going to Chicago and going west of Texas, and there's some truth to that, man. I say it all the time to this day with the SEC network and all that. Is, man, if ESPN was just trying to take over 6 states with college football, they'd be fine. But this obsession with making New York and California interested in regional college football, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
That ain't going to work. So stop it. And so there's a lot to that, mainly because wrestling ain't wrestling. We've talked about it. It is very different depending on what you watch, and especially in the territory days, it was real different. Even like the stuff, the Midwest was very, very different from Midwest. Like Vern was like probably, I shouldn't say more different from New York than Mid-South, or not Mid-South, Mid-Atlantic, excuse me.
Mhm.
But it probably was. Mid-South was different too. Mid-South was gigantic monsters that used to play football, beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
The AWA was gigantic guys that used to wrestle, beating the crap out of each other, with a lot of rock and roll thrown in too, with like Bruiser and Crusher. There's a lot of entertainment there as well. But at the main event level, the Varen, it was wrestling, like amateur style. In the NWA, you had touches of both of that, but they had a lot of sizzle as far as like workers went. They got some of that from Watts too. But Memphis was there, so you always could get ideas from Memphis. That was the one thing missing from that was the Memphis influence, because they talk endlessly about, well, Dusty was so good coming up with names, Great American Bash and Rock and Roll Express Sizzling Summer Tour, or whatever it was called. And then they kept talking about the Rock and Roll Express like it was a Mid-South invention, and it's like, that is not true. Jerry Lawler invented that, and then they came as they were to the NWA, man, and it was cool. I think all that stuff is cool, but I guess it's okay not mentioning Memphis because that documentary is probably the best, probably my favorite one that I've ever seen. That thing is awesome, but
I think that one's top of my list.
yeah, it's brilliant, man.
I think you can watch it on Amazon Prime now.
Fantastic.
Something I didn't know till I was looking around the other day. Oh, there it is.
Memphis Heat, great soundtrack too. Holy crap, man!
Yeah, man.
That soundtrack is incredible. I cannot believe I can't think of the name of that band right now, man. It'll come to me in a second, man. Anyway.
I mean, that's what's up. That's
Yeah,
about
dude.
it.
That's that good stuff, man. That's how we do it. Dadgummit, when there ain't no wrestling on the weekend, we make it wrestle.
Make up my home. Ain't going to daggum Minnesota.
Yeah, man.